Let's take you now straight to Ulundi in KwaZulu-Natal. The funeral service for the National Freedom Party leader, Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi, is taking place. These are live visuals. It hasn't got underway as yet. This is inside the tent. Outside is where we find my colleague, Ayanda Mhlongo. She's live for us there in Ulundi. Ayanda, so this is a Category 2 funeral. It's a provincial official funeral. Tell us more in terms of what it entails. Tell us more about the sentiment that you've been hearing this morning.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Blaine, once again, and good morning to our viewers at home. Let me first start by giving an update, Blaine. We are told now that the procession is about 10 minutes away. Of course, this morning, the body of the late NFP leader and the founder of the party, Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi, was collected from a mortuary in Durban and, of course, being brought here to Ulundi, which will be her final resting place. Here. This is, of course, is the district and the area in which she was born and raised and worked, and now she makes her final journey home. Mourners continuing to trickle in here to the old KwaZulu-Natal legislature building. We also can tell our viewers, Blaine, that as you enter the town of Ulundi, we are told that scores and scores of members of the National Freedom Party that have travelled across the province of KwaZulu-Natal and others from other provinces, mostly Gauteng and Umhlanga, we are told that they too have arrived here in the town and at the entrance of the Ulundi town, waiting that procession to go past. And we also understand that just outside the gates of the legislature building where we are, there are also scores of members of the National Freedom Party. Of course, this happens at a time when the country is still under level 3 of the lockdown, meaning that the numbers of people that are permitted to be part of this funeral are reduced. Only 50 people are allowed or permitted to be inside the marquee, and so a lot of people that have come out here today might not necessarily be able to get closer here to be part of the main funeral service. But we do understand that arrangements had been made, and I'll be speaking to the party's Secretary General in a moment, Ayanda Mhlongo, just to speak to us in terms of how they've catered for the hundreds of supporters of the NFP that have come out here today to bid their final farewells. They're here to pay their respects to their leader, a woman who has been described as phenomenal, as a remarkable leader, a leader who invested her time, her effort, her life to serve the people of this area, of Ulundi, of the Zululand district, of KwaZulu-Natal, and of South Africa. And as you said, of course, Blaine, today she has been honored with a special provincial funeral Category 2, which entails that the South African police services will be a part or officiate the ceremony today. The Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, will be delivering the eulogy. There'll also be messages and tributes from opposition parties, Inkatha Freedom Party, which was her first political home, as well as members of, leaders from her current party, the National Freedom Party, as well as the African National Congress. Let me now bring in the Secretary General of the NFP, Mr. Ayanda Mhlongo. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us this morning. Just firstly, to speak about, and just from our vantage point, we can see that quite a number of vehicles, taxis, are now at the entrance of the town as the supporters of the party have gathered in their numbers. They want to at least get a glimpse of the procession as it makes its way here to where we are. Unfortunately, COVID-19 regulations, number of people who would have wanted to be part of the main funeral service unable to do so. To speak to us about any arrangements that have been made to accommodate these hundreds of supporters that have come out to bid their farewell to their leader.
No, definitely, as you have mentioned, that due to COVID-19 we cannot have as many people as we would like to have. And that's why outside the venue here we have erected about 3 tents with a live TV screen so that they can be able to see and follow the proceedings here, where kaMagwaza-Msibi's final funeral service will take place. And we do want to take this opportunity as the NFP and give thanks and to the Premier and gratitude to the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal and the President of South Africa for allowing our President to be given such a dignified send-off. It's an honor and it's a privilege. We are excited as the organization, as much as this is painful, but we are happy that she's going to get a recognition she deserves.
Speaking of the recognition that she deserves, Kenan, from the start of when the news broke, the tributes that have been made by people across the country. A remarkable woman that she was, but I think more personally for you, you worked with her, you served with her in government, and then later on in the party. What does the party take from her? I was speaking earlier on to her driver and very close friend, Spamandla Ntombela, and he was relaying what she meant to him on a personal level and the type of person that she was, but also the work that she did for this community, for South Africans, and the lessons that people must take. Humble, gentle, loved her people.
No, definitely. kaMagwaza-Msibi was a beautiful soul. That's how we can sum up the personality that she was. And for me to stand here today, it's very emotional because this is where she last held a public event as the Deputy Minister of Science and Technology in 2014, where we had the Science and Technology Expo here in this exact place in 2014. It was a Saturday, and the next day she suffered a stroke, and all those emotions are now coming back because I never thought I'll stand here to bid her farewell. It's emotional. And as you have mentioned, kaMagwaza-Msibi was a phenomenal woman. She was a unique leader. She served her people with aplomb, and she dedicated her entire life on serving the people of this country, in particular of the Zululand area, because this is where she was born and bred, and this is where she made her mark as a mother, a leader, a politician, an academic, and activist. So it's a humble experience for us, but a sad one indeed, because it is now that her coffin is here. It is now all sinking in. We are saying goodbye to her, and it's painful. It's very painful.
I just see now that the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala, can do apologize, please stay with us. The Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, has also arrived. We also saw the NEC for Human Settlement, Jomo Sibiya. Premier will be delivering, of course, the eulogy later this morning. But, Mr. Mdlaja, what do you take from her? The lessons. She has been with you through her life, through her work, through her service. I'm sure there is so much that you've learned from her, and as you take the party forward, these are the lessons that you will continue, you will follow in her footsteps. How do you remember her?
I will always remember her as a human being with a good heart. She loved the people. She always told us that we must serve people with everything that we have. We must always be respectful to the people. We must always show humility. That's why in each and every funeral that will happen in this part of the province, she will be the first one to arrive. So that she told us that we must always remain humbled and never take people for granted, and that's what we are going to take from her going forward. And we will try by all means, as the leaders of the organization, to make sure that we take a baton and move forward with the party, and we are going to ensure that the NFP does not die on our hands.
Speaking about the NFP not dying in your hands, as you were saying, this also happened at such a difficult time, I suppose, for the party, as you were just preparing for a strong comeback, as some of your members and leaders have said. And you were saying earlier on, Kenan, when you and I were just talking, that it was on the Saturday before her passing, that she was in fact asking you as leaders, where you're going to deploy her in this election.
No, definitely. I called her in the morning, informing her that we have a meeting finalizing our program, and she asked me jokingly where I'm going to place me. I said, no, Madam President, you are going to lead us in all these programs because there is no NFP without you. And she said, yeah, no, I will be there. And she said that, and And her last word, I remember correctly, said, "Hey, I'm tired, let me sleep." And that was the last time I spoke to her.
Oh, right. We'll just have to leave it there for the moment. Understandably, a very, very difficult time for Mr. Kenan Mdletshe as the Secretary General of the NFP. But of course, he also worked with Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi when she was the Deputy Minister of Science and Technology. And over the years, they had developed a very close relationship. Very, very emotional, understandably so. Many of her supporters, not only her family, but the supporters and those she worked very closely with, also today finding it very, very difficult. As you're saying, just on the Saturday before her passing, she passed away in the early hours of Monday morning at Umhlanga Hospital. They had their last conversation where she was speaking about and asking the party leaders where she was going to be deployed for this elections and part of their campaigns. Earlier on, we spoke to her driver and close friend, Spamandla Ntombela, who also had said that her last gesture to the party and her gift for the party was out of her own pocket. She ensured that the party's registration fee had been paid so that they would be able to campaign so that they would contest this upcoming election. We remember, of course, that in 2016, at the final hour, the party was unable to contest in the 2016 local government elections after it had failed to pay the registration fee. It took a knock as thereafter party issues started to crop up within the party, jostling for positions with the party, followed by court challenges. And so from 2016 onward really was a difficult time for the party, and especially for Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi, who had already fallen ill at the time. She fell ill in 2014 and had taken a really long and slow recovery, but that seemingly was another very, very low point for her when the party that she had formed in 2011, when they'd come in, as some had said, with a bang. The party managed to in just 3 months after it was formed in 2011, they contested the local government elections, then took over control, they blamed, of 3 municipalities and 224 seats in the local councils. Come the 2014 election, they managed to also secure 6 seats in the National Assembly. And this time around, the party was confident that they were going to make a very, very strong comeback. And so, understandably, really difficult time for Mr. Mdletshe and the members of the party as they were gearing up and ready to show their support. And I suppose also, Kenan, I do appreciate you staying with us, and we do understand that it is really a difficult time for you. And I suppose being here, just speaking about, this is where she lived, this is the area and where she worked the most. But of course, this is the district where your party, the NFP, this is where it was your strongest base, your strongest support base came from this area.
No, definitely. During the last elections that we contested, Zululand district alone gave us about, I think about 30,000 votes, the district alone. Out of 67 that we received, half of that came from this district. So this is where kaMagwaza-Msibi's soul and heart is. And it goes without saying that this is one district that as the leadership we will have to make sure that we win it for her, because that was her wish, to retain the Zululand district municipality and she even joked the other day, said, I will be the mayor maybe I'll be the first mayor who cannot work properly. And she was saying jokingly, and we told that, no, definitely, Madam President, we'll try by all means to make sure that you become the mayor, you serve the people that you grew up with, that you have been working for over 19, 20 years as the politician. So this district is very close to her, and as the leadership, we want to make sure that we give it to her, even if she's no longer with us.
We can just hear the sirens, Kenan, as well, meaning that the procession is nearing the legislature building or where we are. And of course, that will mean that the funeral service should get underway very close. Kenan, I also just want to speak about amongst the speakers today, we also have a tribute from the IFP. We saw the leaders of the IFP led by Nkosi Buthelezi come out to visit the home to pay their tributes. A lot of people would want to know the relationship, that although there was differences, but she maintained a cordial relationship, we understand, with the IFP, particularly with the President Emeritus of the IFP, Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who she had always said that he was not only a leader to her, a mentor, but they had a father-daughter relationship. Speak to us about the relationship that the two had until the end.
No, I'll say that the relationship between the two was cordial, although somehow strained in a way. But we don't want to dwell much on that. Safe to say that immediately after recovering from stroke, kaMagwaza-Msibi did reach out. She wrote a letter to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi asking for a meeting. It's a pity that the meeting did not take place until she has passed on. And as I'm saying, it's a pity because she wanted to talk to Prince Buthelezi so that they can iron out whatever issues that might have aroused during the course of their political careers. And for us, it's a sad day because we were hoping that Prince Buthelezi will allow or give our president an opportunity for the two of them to engage and perhaps iron out whatever outstanding issues that might have arose along the way. But in nonetheless, we are, as the organization, humbled by the fact that IFP Deputy President and the party's Secretary General did pay homage to kaMagwaza-Msibi. They did come and send their condolences in person, which was very gratifying because, if I may say, they were not expecting that to happen, considering that there were some tensions between kaMagwaza-Msibi and Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi.
But indeed, there was a statement that had been issued by the IFP spokesperson, Umhlanga Hospital, where he lauded the work that she had done and also just spoke very highly of the woman that she was and the remarkable leader that she was. Just stay with us if you would not mind, Kenena. We do understand and we're told that the procession is now making its way closer. So at any minute now, the hearse carrying the body of the late leader of the NFP, and we can see now the police that are leading the convoy as it now enters, carrying the body of the late leader of the NFP, Umama Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi. Can you just speak to us about her as a leader? And I mean, this dates back. You know, a lot of people have been speaking about how strong and how courageous she was, how she was able to enter into spaces where traditionally women were not given that space or the attention. She was respected by traditional leaders. She was respected by Amakhosi, which wasn't something that was easy to do, but I suppose it attests to the character and the person that she was.
No, definitely. You recall that kaMagwaza-Msibi was born and bred in Amakhosi. It's a rural area which is under the Amakhosi. So for someone who grew up in a dense related area of Amakhosi, but to actually enter into politics and make a mark, it was unbelievable. And a lot of traditional leaders respect her because she was one woman who never actually saw gender in whatever that she was doing. She was doing her work, whether man or not. To her, all people were equal, and that's why she advocated for the upliftment of women, because she believed that a woman was as capable as a man. That's why it was easy for her to rise up to the occasion, to be respected by Amakhosi, Izinduna, and everyone. And because she was a remarkable woman, with a strong character. That's why I was listening to a radio station the other day. There is a professor who said that was not a woman; she was a man. Why indoda in isiZulu? Because that's how she presented herself. She didn't act as a woman. She was not soft, although she was kind, but she didn't take nonsense. If you disrespected her because she was a woman, then you'll get nothing from her. But she was a good leader, a mother, a kind-hearted someone, a beautiful soul, and she loved people, especially those grannies and orphans. Those are the people that were close to her, and she ensured that whatever that she was doing, she will put them first, because to her there was no service without saving those people, those who are underprivileged, those who does not hold any status in the community.
Yeah, certainly. We have been told that she cared very deeply for the community, particularly the downtrodden, and would go out of her way to ensure that those that didn't have, that they had. Passionate about the youth, passionate about education, and I think working with her in science and technology, she could not have been given a better portfolio. She was one that wanted to see young people develop. She wanted to see young people get involved in new and innovation and ideas. And I'm sure, as you were saying, that in fact, before she fell ill, one of her last duties was an event that was held here specifically for the youth. Can I?
No, definitely. It was a science expo, and the department invited learners from schools across the Zululand district area, and they were here to get information and to be exposed to technology and science. And because she was passionate about developing young kids from rural areas, and that's why she said, no, this one I'm taking it to Zululand. And it's so unfortunate that that was her last public event as the deputy minister, and but I believe that on that day 1 or 2 scientists did come out or will come out of that event that the department held here. And that's how kaMagwaza-Msibi was. She always cared for those who were underprivileged, the downtrodden, those who are poor, those who are, I remember she would have a Christmas for orphans, which is not something that takes place in other parts. But here in Zululand, she'll have Christmas for orphans, Christmas for the elderly, Christmas for the widows, because those were the people that are close to her heart. And I believe that she will be sorely missed by the poorest of the poor in this part of KwaZulu-Natal.
Speaking about the parties that you're saying about orphans, we know that she also had young people who she personally would pay for their tuition in tertiary institutions and also in schools every year. Spamandla Ntombele was telling us about 50 young people that she would personally pay their school fees and pay their tuition as well.
No, definitely. There are quite a number of young people who can attest that they've got driver's license, because she ensured that each and every 18-year-old in this part of the province must go and do driver's license, something that we take for granted, having a driving license. To her, it was something that she believed that young people needed in order for them to progress in life. And a lot of people were assisted by kaMagwaza-Msibi. She had a bursary fund that ensured that the poorest among the community here are able to go to tertiary institutions. She had a lot of programs that catered for the youth and young people. That's why I think most of the people who miss her dearly will be young people of Zululand and
that women were given that space, ensuring that women's rights were also upheld.
No, definitely. She advocated for the upliftment of women, because she believed that a woman must not be confined in the kitchen. The duty of a woman is not to only bear children and raise them, and that's it. She believed that women must be given platform for them to show their potential, and that's why I think that's the space that South Africa has lost, because they lost someone who cared for women, and in particular during these days where GBV is high in South Africa, and she was one person who will ensure that women have got rights and their rights are respected as they are enshrined in the Constitution.
Certainly, I remember, Kenan, as you're speaking about gender-based violence and the scourge against women and children, how many of her campaigns, even when she was a mayor here at the Zululand District Municipality for the 10 years in which she ran this municipality, she did ensure that there was a focus on speaking out. She would also, we are told, go around speaking to traditional leaders in the various areas for Mama Kosi is in Dona to ensure that this message was spread against gender-based violence, bringing in non-government organizations and working with them in the communities to ensure that they go to the areas and the homes where there had been such incidents. In fact, and I think if my mind even takes me back, there was a court case that she even personally attended where a woman had been murdered as well.
No, definitely, as I indicated earlier, she was an activist in her own right, and she made sure that in each and every time there is a situation that calls for one to stand up against women abuse, she will be the first one to do so. That's why it was easy for her to even go overseas and speak to investors so that they can come and invest here in Zululand, especially with programs that are going to uplift women, because she believed that women upliftment was critical in ensuring that we've got a space and time where women are able to exercise skills without any hindrances. So she was an activist, and she made sure that if there are women issues, she will involve in those issues and make sure that whoever that needed attention will receive an attention. Even during her time as a mayor of Zululand, she took care of abused women. That's why not far from her home there is a Princess Mandisi Center for HIV and AIDS people. She built it on her own from her own pocket and handed it over to the municipality. And that center is assisting people who are living with HIV and AIDS, but also it is used as a place where young children can be taught about the importance of abstaining from sex, and it is bearing fruits.
I'm just looking at our live visuals now. You will see members of the KaMagwaza-Msibi family. They have arrived here as they'll be preparing to then bring in her coffin into the marquee where the funeral service will be taking place very shortly. We saw earlier on arriving the Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, who will be delivering the eulogy this morning. He is accompanied by the MECs, members of the Executive Cabinet in KwaZulu-Natal. We saw Jomo Sibia, the MEC for Human Settlement. We saw the MEC for Sports and Recreation, Mama Mavimbela. Thank you, Mavimbela. We also saw the MEC for Agriculture, Bongis Tole Mloy, amongst the leaders that are here today. Special tribute that was made by the MEC for for finance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Nomusa Dube Ngube, who had said that unfortunately she is not going to be able to be part, but a very part of what she said, and I'm just going to quote here what she said as you wait with me, Kenan, because I think this really sums up a lot of the sentiments that were shared by the people that have been making their tributes and those that have been speaking throughout the week, where she said she lived a remarkable political life and one that inspired women and men alike. It was a broad interest in the welfare of the downtrodden that endeared her in the hearts of millions of people, especially those in rural areas and townships. And when I read this, I think this sums up what a lot of people have said about her. Her life was about those that are less fortunate. Her life was about empowering, uplifting people in rural areas. And already through the years that she had worked and served, and in fact, let's go back a bit to her political life, Kenan, where she joining the IFP at the age of 13, and that was in 1975, making her way through the party's ranks. We are told that in 1998 she then joined the IFP's Youth Brigade Executive Committee. She then, while continuing to serve the party on the side, went on to study teaching. Many people would not know that she's actually a teacher by profession. So she went on to study at KwaZulu-Natal College of Education, where she obtained a diploma in teaching. And while she then went on to teach, I think it was at 2 schools here in the area of in Ulundi, at a time then left teaching, called on to then start her career in government, where she started as a councillor, but also in 1996 she was elected as the deputy chairperson in the Zululand Regional Council, and that was within the IFP. She then made her way up the ranks, and in 2007 was elected as the party's national chairperson. But of course, one of her most notable positions was when she was elected as mayor of the Zululand district, where she served and led the municipality from the year 2000 to 2014, and making her the longest serving mayor in the district to date. Just as we go through her life, and so our viewers get to understand who she was before she joined the National Freedom, or rather before she formed, I beg your pardon, the National Freedom Party. The party then formed in 2011, and that was after she had left the IFP, parted ways with the party. And it was barely 3 months after she had formed the party that the local government elections in 2011 were held, and faring quite well there, taking control of several councils and 224 council seats. I want to move on to the relationship that she had, Kenan, with the ANC. Today we see the ANC-led government has honoured her. We see members of the provincial legislature, and I was just speaking about this tribute from Nomusa Dube-Ncube, who is the MEC for finance of the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but who speaks about them working together for many years, when they were both, when she was still a councillor in the eThekwini Metro, and Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi was working as a councillor here in the area of Ulundi. The parties then in 2011, after the election, coming together, it was 19 hung councils where a formal coalition was made between the party. So she's always throughout the years maintained quite a good and strong relationship with the ANC.
No, certainly the relationship between the NFP, or between kaMagwaza-Msibi and the ANC was cordial. It was a good one, and not necessarily because the establishment, the NFP played a role in the establishment of the NFP. No. Simply because they could understand when they sat and talk. Because one thing that is important about politics is you must always collude or meet with people that you share the same vision. So the ANC and the INFP shared a same vision, in particular in KwaZulu-Natal. That is why it was easy for the NFP to enter into an agreement or a memorandum of understanding with the ANC to form a government in the 19-hung municipality. Merely because the ANC wanted to develop the people of KwaZulu-Natal, which was what kaMagwaza-Msibi wanted. There's nothing more, there's nothing less. It was merely about having the same vision. Not those lies that are peddled by some people who are anti-kaMagwaza-Msibi, who are claiming that the ANC was involved in the establishment of the NFP. It has got nothing to do with that. Those are lies. It was only merely because they shared the same vision. They wanted to develop the people of KwaZulu-Natal. They wanted to make sure that service delivery is fast-track in this part of the province. That is why then we entered into a relationship with the ANC.
I want to also touch on quite an important point, and specifically in this district, and as we speak about, we're moving towards the local government elections, and we've seen the incidents of of instability and violence that have plagued the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and more importantly in this district. Speak to us about her role as a peacemaker. We know how during 2011 it was one of the most difficult times for the party. Just coming in, it lost members as well, some killed in hostels, also some were killed in this district. And I remember at one time, although she was not one to give up, but it was at a funeral of one of the then councillors of the NFP, and how difficult it was for her to say that she had taken the supporters that had come from the IFP, supporting her, with her, standing with her as she formed the NFP, and she felt quite responsible for the loss of life during that time. And that then she then decided to take a stand and to say that she needs to be part of the negotiations, of the peace talks, so that days like now, parties are free to a campaign, and there are no issues such as no-go areas and one that have been experienced in the past in the province.
No, certainly. You remember that here in Zululand, the only two political parties that dominated, it was the ANC and the IFP, and no other party could even thinking of making a space. But the formation of the NFP created that space for a neutral political party to come in when there are tensions between the two parties. And I must say that the NFP's foundation was built on a blood of people who really sacrificed their lives. As you have mentioned, that many people were killed, in particular those who seem to be associated with kaMagwaza-Msibi. They were butchered and in KwaMagwaza Hospital and in Nongoma and other parts of KwaZulu-Natal. That is why for us it is important that we do emulate kaMagwaza-Msibi and ensure that we pitch peace every time, because kaMagwaza-Msibi was not a violent person. She was always a humble person, always pitched peace, and wanted to ensure that there is tranquility between various political parties, and even between the individuals, because sometimes people will just go on and attack each other without even someone provoking them. So that's why kaMagwaza-Msibi was always stood for peace and ensured that there was amicable reason between the parties and everyone involved. We wanted to make sure that peace prevailed in KwaZulu-Natal and in this part of the province.
Yeah, I'm just saying there that members of the NFP are now inside the grounds here at the old KwaZulu-Natal Legislature building. You see members in bright orange, members of the National Freedom Party who are here. They've come from across the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and earlier on, as I continue to speak to the Secretary General of the ANC, of the NFP, I beg your pardon, Mr. Kenan Mdleje, we were speaking earlier on, Kenan. You did say that there have been marquees that have been provided. We are, of course, still under level 3 of the lockdown, which means that in the main marquee where the funeral service is going to take place, only 50 people are going to be permitted to enter. But of course, you knew that these members of the National Freedom Party would come out here today, very importantly for them, to bid their final farewells to their leader.
No, certainly, and I want to take this opportunity first and foremost to plead with those NFP members who are still at home to please stay home and watch live visuals from television, because coming here is not going to assist us. We do not want to allow a situation where kaMagwaza-Msibi's funeral will become a super spreader event. As you have mentioned that we are still under level 3 lockdown, so we must adhere to the regulations, and we do appeal to the people to respect the regulations, because it's unfortunate that we are living in times of COVID-19. We would want to have as many people as possible here, but unfortunately there are regulations. So we do appeal to those who are still at home to please stay home, because it's already starting to be chaotic here, and we don't want a situation where kaMagwaza-Msibi's funeral will turn into something else. But we want to say that we have erected at least 2 marquees outside here to make sure that our supporters and members can follow the proceedings from those marquees. And we want to appeal to the people of KwaZulu-Natal, in particular of Zululand, to please adhere to the COVID-19 regulations.
Yeah, certainly. There's going to be, we do see the police are also here to ensure that they maintain some order, as Mr. Mletshe is saying there, that there have been that have erected of the former, or the KwaZulu-Natal legislature building, the old KwaZulu-Natal legislature building, to try and accommodate the supporters have come out here today to bid their final farewells. We saw the family has arrived, and any minute now the coffin will then be brought into the marquee. We're already sitting inside the Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, is here. He is with the MECs. We also see the Speaker in the KwaZulu-Natal legislature, Mr. Super Zuma. Just trying to look around. Can we know that, of course, the leaders of the National Freedom Party are here. There's also going to be messages of support from the ANC as well as the IFP as well, and they're also here to make to deliver their tributes on behalf of the 2 parties. And these are the parties that she worked very, very closely with until her last days. Can I just speak to us about preparing? As we said, we are now preparing for the elections, and I cannot imagine that this has been rather a knock for you as a party. You need to now find a way to move on. Unfortunately, there's not much time that is left. Her vision and what she wanted for the party.
Oh, certainly. As the current leadership, we must make sure that we close ranks, we unite whatever factions that might have, because kaMagwaza-Msibi wanted a united NFP. She wanted a one organization that will have leaders speaking in one voice. So it is our duty as the leaders to make sure that we unite the organization. Otherwise, we will not be able to contest these elections if we are not united. So we are going to make sure that we are united. We are going to make sure that we campaign vigorously, because we do want to win a lot, some municipalities, in particular Zululand and Utugela, because those are municipalities that you are going to go hard on. And we want to give kaMagwaza-Msibi a dignified send-off by ensuring that come November 1, the NFP has as many councillors as possible. And we want to make sure also that her legacy does not die. We want to see the NFP being counted as one of the biggest parties in South Africa. We want to use the political space and close all the ranks, unite all the factions, so that we can campaign and win these forthcoming elections vigorously.
Just speaking about your plans, and I know that you've had a difficult 4 or so years as you're speaking about internally as a party. Let me just take this opportunity, I suppose, to ask whether or not you've been able to resolve the internal issues that you've been trying and grappling with.
No, fortunately enough, we're able to resolve our issues. That's why when we have meetings to finalize the list of candidates, everyone was singing from one voice, and it's a good sign. It's promising, and I can assure you that going forward, you will see a united National Freedom Party. You will see leaders speaking in one voice. You will see leaders crisscrossing the province and the country united, because there's nothing else we must do now, except ensuring that we maintain unity within the organization. Because if we are not united, we are not going to be able to contest the elections and win because we want to have as many councillors as possible. Otherwise, we might as well forget. If we are not going to win councillors in these forthcoming elections, then we must close the doors because we won't be able to survive. But ours is unite the organization, speak in one voice, and ensure that we close ranks. We don't want to allow a situation where some outside forces will come and divide the organization.
Do you feel that her absence now might, she led this party. She was the glue, the unifier in the party. How do you see the months ahead without her being there as a leader, as the voice of reason?
No, definitely it is going to affect the running of the organization because, as we have mentioned, kaMagwaza-Msibi was the glue that kept the NFP together. So her absence is definitely going to have a huge impact. But as I've indicated, we have had meetings with other leaders where we took decisions that we must unite the organization. There's nothing else we must do except uniting the organization. So we are going to work hard and ensure that we unite the organization. Yes, she will be sorely missed, but we want to ensure that the public that with or without kaMagwaza-Msibi, the NFP will be alive.
All right, Kenan, live on our visuals there, our viewers would be seeing the coffin carrying the body of the late Mama Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi draped in the South African flag as the pallbearers are preparing to bring it here into the marquee where the service is about to begin. You also see live in your pictures the members of the NFP who are here in their numbers. I do see some of the leaders are trying their best to control the people who have come out here. As you said, the police are also here to ensure that there is some sort of distance between this large group of supporters. We see the family, members of the family as well. In front, her daughter, Gugu Gumede, is now making her way into the marquee. The South African police now being brought in to try and control the crowds who have gathered here. Of course, now the South African Police Service will now be bringing in the coffin carrying the body of the late Mama Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi. Police here having their hands full as they are trying to push back her supporters who are out here in numbers. Kenan had said that there are two marquees, but clearly, Kenan, we see the supporters clearly did not want to be moved to those marquees. They're here, they are insisting that they be here so that they can see in person the proceedings that are going to be taking place here.
No, definitely. You can see a large number of people have managed to make their way here. And but even though we tried by all means as the leaders to keep them outside the venue, but unfortunately we can't control people because emotions are high and they want to say goodbye to their leader, the president. So it's understandable. However, we do want to appeal to all the people, and we will be speaking to them and make sure that we ask them to please behave, because we do not want something to dent kaMagwaza-Msibi's funeral. We don't want it to become a super spreader event, so we will be talking to them. And unfortunately, the situation here is rather a complicated one, because people want to say goodbye to their leader, and it's understandable. kaMagwaza-Msibi is the only leader they know, is the only president of the NFP they knew, and some of them were born while kaMagwaza-Msibi was still the mayor of Ulundi. So they've got emotions attached to kaMagwaza-Msibi, but we do appeal to them to maintain distancing and make sure that this event does not become a super spreader event.
All right, Kenan, I'm going to have to let you go. I can see the Director General in the province of KwaZulu-Natal has been trying to grab your attention so you can deal with this matter. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Thank you so much for your time. The Secretary General of the National Freedom Party there, Kenan Mhlongo, speaking to us about the life and times of Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi. Now, this is the situation unfolding here where the supporters of the National Freedom Party, the NFP, have broken or come through. There had been barricades. The party had said that they had set up 2 marquees outside of the venue with big screens where they'd hoped that supporters would then sit and follow the proceedings from. But unfortunately, or as you see now, they have been unable to contain them to that area, and her supporters have now come out here just steps away from the main marquee where the service is expected to get underway. And we see the South African Police Service here also having their hands full as they're trying to keep these supporters, hundreds of supporters who have come out here, trying to keep them away and also trying to maintain some social distance. But as you can see, that seems to be quite difficult as people are converged together, and it's unlikely, doesn't look like the police are going to be able to get these supporters from this area or away from this area. Of course, this happens as they are still trying to get her body, her coffin, which of course is draped in the South African police flag. The police are trying to create an opening here so that the family can come through. The supporters of the late leader of the NFP, Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi, have come out in their numbers. Hundreds of her supporters have descended here on the old KwaZulu-Natal legislature building to pay their final respects to their leader.
Ayanda, live visuals from Ulundi in KwaZulu-Natal. It is for the funeral service of the former Deputy Minister of Science and Technology, Zanele kaMagwaza-Msibi. This is a special official provincial funeral, category 2. It was granted by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ayanda, just for those who have just joined us and trying to figure out where the supporters are in proximity to where the funeral service is actually happening, just give us some broad strokes in terms of the area you're in.
All right, Blaine, let me just move in front of the camera here and ask my colleague Lou to show our viewers. We're in fact just a step away from the marquee. If you just look to my right here, this is the entrance to the marquee, which is inside the old KwaZulu-Natal legislature. And just steps away, I'm just going to ask him, Lou, just to move with me here, and just steps away, you can see now the members of the National Freedom Party. And what the party leaders had said was that they had 2 marquees which had been erected outside of this area for the supporters to sit and follow the funeral service from the big screens. Of course, they had also requested those from outside of the area to stay at home and follow from their televisions as this is going to be broadcast live and follow the proceedings. So as you can see now, the police, the leaders of the NFP have their hands full trying to control the crowds that have come out here today. At least at the moment, they are trying to get the coffin as the police are bringing the coffin into the marquee. Well, these are
siyabonga kakhulu. Siyacela ukuthi bantu bakithi malunga ahloniphekile nathembekile e-NFP akhona la enkonzweni yokuphelezela umholi. Siqhele la eceleni kwetende ukuze inkonzo yokuphelezela umongameli we-NFP yokugcina siyenze ibe sezingeni elimfanele. Asimhloniphe umongameli ngokuthi senze lokho kufanele sikwenze. Siyacela ukuthi siqhele eduze netende ngoba lenkonzo iyinkonzo yomgomo ohambisana nezinhlelo esinazo ezweni ze-COVID-19 uyinkonzo kahulumeni. Siyacela ukuthi njengamalunga athembekile namalunga ahloniphayo asikho esinye isikhathi esingasenza sokuhlonipha umongameli ngaphandle kokuthi sisenze manje. usuku lolo kufanele sitshengise idiscipline ngendlela emangalisayo ukuze sikwazi ukumtshengisa inhlonipho. Asihlonipheni umongameli, simnikeze inkonzo esezingeni elimfanele. Amaqhawe ayahlonishwa, asilihloniphe iqhawe lethu. Uma uyilunga lenhlangano uyawuhlonipha umongameli wakho. Siyacela ke ukuthi nasemnyango kungene labo abane accreditation.
We shall meet on the beautiful shore in the street, wide and wide. We shall meet on the beautiful again.